Good morning. So yesterday I bought one of these Elegoo Arduino robots. It's a car that you can, it has a Bluetooth module that you can remotely control the car with. And it's a Bluetooth low energy device. So I wanted to write an app on Windows to control it, but the problem is that all of the tutorials I found, they all try to pair with the device and open a serial port and then write to the serial port, which is not how you usually have to deal with Bluetooth low energy devices. You have to discover services, characteristics, and then write to a characteristic. And you can't even connect to it with Windows 10. So if I open settings, for example, and try to pair with the device, it will not work. So I can't even like open a COM port and write to the COM port. So as you can see, it does not connect. So I looked into the source code of the car, and it's open source, and it looks very simple. So it just takes an ASCII character, and so if it's F, it goes forward. If it's B, it goes backwards. If it's L, it turns left. If it's R, it turns right. And if it's S, it stops. So all I have to do is send these ASCII characters to the device. And I'm going to use UWP APIs to do that. So let's create a new project. We already have one here. And let's call it Elegoo. Okay, so the first thing we have to do is turn on the Bluetooth permission or capability. And then we go to our main page. So what do we need to do? We need to discover devices, services, characteristics, and then write a string into that characteristic. So let's divide the grid into two columns. I'm gonna do this and zoom in. All right. And then the left side, we're going to divide it to three parts. All right, so the first part would be devices. Let's do a list view. All right. Let's switch to code. So we using Windows devices and then unload, or let's just do it in the constructor. In UWP we have this thing called device watcher. That just gives us a list of devices. And there's like this source code for it here on Microsoft GitHub. to enumerate Bluetooth LE devices. So I'm just going to copy paste this here. And then subscribe to the events. If we see a device, then do this. So when a new device is discovered, this thing is called, and then we receive a device information. So let's create an observable collection. Of device information. And then say list devices dot item source equals devices. So this thing is called not on the UI thread. So if we want to change the list, we have to switch to the UI thread. And we use dispatcher for that. Devices.add args. Okay, so now I'm gonna switch back to the UI. What I want to show on the list is the name of the device. So it's the name property. If I switch to the UI file, I can write here display member path name. So it displays the name property. Okay, what I forgot to do is running the dispatcher, the device watcher. So I have to write device watcher dot start. Okay, now we see a list of our devices and Elegoo is here. And then the next step is discovering the services the device provides. So let's say list devices dot item click or selection changed would run the following code. So also I have to enable selection, so selection mode equals single. And then I'm going to make another list for services and another for characteristics. So each service has a UUID, and that's what we show, I guess. I don't remember exactly. And then set the column to row to 1, and then this one goes on the third row. Back to code. Alright, so if this devices that selected item is device information device, we have to connect to the device. So we have something else called Bluetooth LE device that we use to connect to a device from ID async device.id. Let's rename this to device information. Oh, sorry. Device information.id, and then device.get services async. So the result has I need to await it. So it has a services list. So it's a list of get device service. And I'm just gonna wire this to LSD services that item source. Of course, because this is a UI element, I need to run it inside the dispatcher. Okay, so now when I click on this, it already connected to the device because this light is red. And then we have only one service. That's good. That makes everything easy if you have only one service. Now let's discover the characteristics of that service. So again, we do the same thing with LST services.selection change. And this time, if LST services.selected item is, so what's the type of this? Get device service, then get characteristics async. So this would be async, and then var like this. Perfect. And then we need the dispatcher again. All right. So now we need a way to write some string to the characteristic. So let's create a task called write async, which takes a get characteristic, and then a string. Let's call it command. So we need to convert the string to bytes. We have this thing called cryptographic buffer, which converts string to binary, and let's say it's UTF-8. And now result equals await characteristic dot write value with result async, and then we just write the buffer. catch console the write line. Let's say exception, the usual stuff. All right. Let's also add a text box here. So grade.column1, grade.row definitions, and I'm gonna add some cool stuff after, so let's make some space for it. Now the text box. Make it inside a stack panel because I need a button to run the command. Perfect. Now, so when the run button is clicked, we have to check if string that is null or white space txt command.text, then return, do nothing. Also, if list characteristics that selected item is a get characteristic, then we're gonna write to the characteristic the value of the text box. So here's the device, and then when I click on this, I discover the service. When I click on the service, I discover the characteristic, and we have two characteristics. One of these is the one we have to write to, but I don't know which one. So let's try the first one. And this is the button. I had to write some text here, but anyway. Let's send F. Alright, nothing happened. The second one. Oh, cool. Now it's working. So now let's send S. Perfect. So now we can control the device. I'm gonna add some more buttons to control the directions. So let's change the orientation of the stack panel to horizontal, and then content to send. So we need 3 rows and 3 columns. And just a bunch of buttons. So button name forward, backward, left, right. Perfect. And then so forward goes on row 0, column 1. Back goes on row 2, column 1. Left goes on row 1, column 0. And right goes on row 1, column 2. We need one more for stop on row 1, column 1. And then we need to style the buttons as well, because right now they're very tiny. So style target type button, setter horizontal alignment to stretch, and also vertical alignment to stretch as well. So also add some margins to make it nicer. Okay, now I need to send commands when you push each button. So let's do async void run string command to make things easier. And then gonna do this, change it to command here as well. And instead of this, I can write run txt command that takes. And here I can write run f, run b, run l, run r, and for stop run s. Cool, so now let's try again. Connecting to the device. Service is the second one we need to write to. And now forward, backward, left, right, and stop. Now it's working well. I have to try it in action. So as you can see, now we can move forward, stop, back, forward, right, and everything's working properly. Great.